Yes, anyone? All right, then, I'll read it. So some friends want to see a movie that is showing at 2 different theaters in town. They plan to share 3 tubs of popcorn during the movie. All right, and here's 2 different movie theaters and their prices. So the first question, which I want you guys to think about first before you shout out an answer, is which movie theater should the friends choose? All right, so think about it, look at the prices. Which one do you think they should choose? All right, how many think theater A would be the better choice? Raise your hand. Theater A. Okay, why do you think so, Judy?
I think so because the popcorn would be cheaper and they want to share 3 tubs of popcorn.
Good, so the popcorn would be cheaper at theater A. Any other reasons? Those of you that chose theater A, yes?
I think it's cheaper. I mean, it's more expensive, but it would be worth it because of the popcorn.
Okay, good. Now who thinks theater B? Anyone? So you all thought theater A? Okay, what if I told you that there's no right or wrong answer? So those of you that chose theater B and maybe just don't want to say, why did you think theater B would be cheaper? Yes? Because of the movie ticket price being cheaper, right? So yeah, the popcorn is more expensive, but they're saving $1.50 on the ticket price, so maybe it'll level out or become cheaper. All right, so that's what you guys think. What the answer is basically subjective. All right, it doesn't tell us how many friends are going, right? So we can assume things. We can say, oh, let's see which one's cheaper when there's 2 friends, 3 friends, 4 friends. But we don't know for sure until we figure out how many friends there are. So the answer really is that it just depends on the number of friends. All right. So for part A, you can put which one you thought and why. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. Just put which one you thought and why. All right, so maybe you thought theater A because of the cheaper popcorn. Maybe you thought theater B because of the cheaper ticket. There's no right or wrong answer. All right. Now part B, so sorry if you're still writing your sentence, just keep writing it. But for part B, it's asking for what situation would the total cost at each theater be exactly the same? All right. So when would it be exactly the same? What's a way to say same, but in like algebra terms? Equal. All right. So when they say, when will they be the same? Think of like when they will be equal. Did you have something to add back there? Did
Yeah, I
you
would say add $1.50.
add $1.50? So are you answering part A? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. No, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that if I just add $1.50,
Yeah, and it would equal out to the same exact price.
but then wouldn't you have to add something to one of the popcorns?
$1.
$1. All right, so if they change their
So
prices, all right, but let's pretend they're not changing their prices because they usually won't. Here's how you can figure out when the cost will be exactly the same. So we're gonna set up an expression for the cost of feeder A. So, and I'm gonna write it up here, but it would ordinarily go in this part, okay? I just need to have more room. All right, but for feeder A, it's $14.50 for a ticket. Do we know how many tickets they're buying? No, so how can I label that? X. Good. So any unknowns are automatically X, right? Or not X, but just any variable. Good. And then what else goes into the price for going to that movie theater? What is it? You don't know? So are they just buying tickets at each movie theater? They're getting popcorn. Would that add or take away from the price? I'm gonna put plus. And how many tubs are they buying? And that's gonna be multiplied by the cost, which is 5.75. And we could simplify that in the next step, or you can just do 3 times 5.75 and put it in there. All right, but to figure out when it costs the same, we need to set it equal to the other movie theaters stuff. All right, so the other movie theater, take like 10 seconds on your own and try writing the expression yourself. So how much the other movie theater costs? All right, what do we think it'll cost for the other movie theater? 13 X. Good. So if you wrote that down on your own, good job. If not, just copy it down. So that represents the total cost for the other theater fee. All right, where X is number of tickets, which we still don't know, but these X's represent the same thing. That's why it's the same variable. And then we know for sure it's 3 tubs of popcorn. So it's 3 times however much the popcorn costs. All right, clear on how we set it up? All right, and then we set it equal because we want to know when the X's will be the same. So when it'll cost the same, when they buy the same number of tickets. So let's start simplifying. On the left side, we can't do anything with the 14.50x, but we can multiply this out. What's 3 times 5.75? Right, don't be afraid to use your calculators. 17.25. Anyone get something different? All right, that's what we got earlier too. And then on the right side, multiply that out as well. So bring down the 13x, and then what's 3 times 6.75? It's not 1925. You just don't be afraid to use your calculator. Oh, I heard you say 19. Did you say 20.25? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So it's 20.25. Good. Then that was the calculator. All right. Now the only difference from what we did last week is now we have variables on both sides of the equation. So the only difference between these types of problems versus last week's problems are that now we need to find a way to move one of these X terms to the other side of the equal sign. All right, does it matter which one we move? No, it doesn't matter. I could choose to move this one over here, or I can move the 13x to the other side. Just pick one. Personally, I like moving the ones with the smaller numbers, just because I don't like dealing with not decimals. I don't like dealing with negative numbers too much. So if it were me, I would move the 13x because it's smaller. How do I move it or get rid of it? Not combine, how do I?
Subtract it.
You subtract it. So you want it to cancel out. And the only way to make it 0 would be to subtract the same thing, right? And then what you do on one side, you do it to the other side. So do that to the x term on the other side. On the left side, combine like terms, what's 14.5x minus 13x? 14.5 minus 13. $1.50 x, good. Bring down everything else. On the right side, we have 13x minus 13x, which is 0, so it cancels, and that equals 20.25. So just bringing this part down. Good there? All right, now this looks like something we've solved before. So now we're just solving for x. All right, so how can I get that x by itself? Subtract 17.25. All right, so do that on each side. On the left side, all we have is $1.50 times x. What do we have on the right side when we subtract this? $3, good. Now one more thing we have to do, which is divide by $1.50 on each side. And so x ends up equaling 2. So when x is 2, these equations equal the same amount. So when it says for what situation would the total cost at each theater be exactly the same, you would say when x is 2, when only, what does the x represent? When only 2 friends go. All right, so if you want to put that into words, if only 2 friends go. All right, so 3 buckets of popcorn between 2 people. But yes, questions there? All right, and then obviously it would change the price based on if it wasn't 2. So if it's 1 friend, maybe it's cheaper for one of the theaters. If it's more than 2, the other one is definitely cheaper. All right. Now for part C, you'll answer that in your little book. So there are different methods to solving this problem. What I see a lot of students try and do is just like pick a number to be X and like plug it in and see which one is more expensive. So that's like a guess and check method. Or you can set it up like we did and solve for the X. So which one do you think is the best method and why? So would you rather just guess and like plug numbers in? Or do you want to make an equation and solve it? Just your opinion in one sentence. Yes. So grab a yellow pass, by the way. Any questions before I move on? Okay, let's give you a little bit longer to wrap up that sentence for part C. So page right after your explore is this page, so find that page. It says solve each equation, starting with 100 times these, find it Anyone not find it? It's in your workbook. So the next page after you explore. All right, anyone lost? You found this page? One page after your explore. All right, so normally these would be the ones you try on your own, but we'll kind of flip it tomorrow. The ones you try on your own will be the ones on the paper that I give you. But let's try these out. So with variables on both sides, there's only one step that's added to our list of steps that we've already talked about. So the first step, and if you want to write this in the margin, that's what I would do. The first step is always to distribute if necessary. All right, always distribute if necessary. So for number one, do we need to distribute for part A? Yes. All right, for number one, part A, we do need to distribute because we have numbers in this format. So distributing means taking that outside number and multiplying it by both of your inside numbers. Saw a couple of problems of this on the test, on the last quiz. So first, what's 100 times Z? 100 Z. And it's positive because it's a positive times a positive, right? What about 100 times negative 0.2? Positive or negative? Good. Now, this is where I saw some people mess up on the quiz. You have to pay attention to the signs that are in front of each number. So over here, I have a positive times a negative. So that's why I got a negative 20. Make sense? All right. Now, do I need to distribute on the right side of the equal sign? Good, so do that. What's negative 10 times 5Z?
15, negative 15.
Fif-
15Z.
15 or 50?
Negative 15Z.
That is incorrect. Don't be afraid to use your calculator.
Wait, negative 50.
Good, there you go. All right, negative 50Z, good. And what about negative 10 times 0.8? Should be negative 8. All right, and again, it's a negative times a positive, so that's why this is negative. Does that make sense? All right, so step one is done. Step two is to combine like terms. And that means on each side of the equal sign, so we'll look at them separately. In the red, do I have any like terms I need to combine? All right, no, what about in the blue? Do I need to combine any like terms? So we're done with step two. All right, sometimes you don't always have to combine like terms, but if you do, then make sure you do that. Step three is our new step. And that's going to be to move the variable to one side. All right, move the variable to one side of the equal sign. So it doesn't matter which way you go, right? Just pick one. Which one do you guys want to move? The 100Z or the negative 50Z? Okay, good. Again, there's no wrong answer there. How do I move the negative 50Z? You add. So think about what can I do to make this be 0? And then make sure you do it on the other side as well. All right, on the left side, what's 100Z plus 50Z? 150Z, good. Oh, I forgot to put the minus 20. So bring down everything else. minus 20 equals, what's negative 50z plus 50z? That's all I have, it's negative 8 on the right side. All right, now this is something you've seen before that you can solve. So step 4 is to solve. All right, using your inverse operations. I'm running out of room, so I'll just put inverse. All right, but using your inverse operations. So what do I get rid of first? The 150 or the 20? And I get rid of it by, good, do that on each side. And then on the left, we just have 150z. Is it? Should be 12. All right, so you find the difference if they're opposite signs and take the sign of the bigger number. All right, but yes, 12. One more thing we have to do, which is by 150 on each side. And then what does z equal? Be ready to calculate. 0.0 what? Okay, good, that's not correct. All right, once you've copied that down, you can go ahead and pack up. But copy it down first, you still have like a whole 50 seconds, but the whole cut corner is there. Any questions though? All right, do not line up at the door. Make sure you have that problem copy.